coming up?
Throughout my life, I love frybread. I really do. Who doesn't? It's just amazing to see how something as simple as frybread has really grown in popularity.
We meet Annette Luethje as she shares how even the simplest ingredients can have a big impact. And cyclist Simeon Gipson wheeled his life around, beating diabetes and biking countless miles all the way to the National Senior Games.
As long as I can ride that bike and it's in me to still do it, I'll continue doing it.
Plus, Julie Erb-Alvarez's career in public health has taken her all over the world, from Black Gum, Oklahoma to Washington, D.C., and to the Republic of Pulau.
It truly is like being on another planet. You're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
The Cherokees.
A thriving American Indian tribe.
Our history.
Our culture. Our people.
Our future.
The principles of a historic nation.
Sewn into the fabric of a modern world.
Hundreds of thousands strong. Learning, growing,
succeeding,
and steadfast.
In the past, we have persevered through struggle.
But the future is ours to write.
Osiyo.
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 These are the voices of the Cherokee people.
Osiyo, welcome to the Cherokee Nation. I'm Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. For generations, others have told the Cherokee story. But now, through this groundbreaking series, we're taking ownership of our own story and telling it as authentically and beautifully as possible. I hope you enjoy these profiles of Cherokee people, language, history, and culture. Wado.
Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. I'm your host, Jennifer Lauren, at the Cherokee National History Museum in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, where you can visit the Cherokee Nation's Capitol building and explore its foundational history within our nation. In this episode, you'll learn about this building and how it served as the center of our government until Oklahoma's statehood at the turn of the 20th century.
I think it was very important to Cherokee Nation to choose a form of architecture that reflected the prosperity and stability that it wanted to work towards.
And learn about the history and evolution of the Cherokee Nation Capitol building a little bit later in our Cherokee Almanac. But first, whether it's served up as part of an Indian taco or a side at a hog fry, frybread is synonymous with good eatin' in Cherokee Country. We tag along with Annette Mankiller as she brings together food, culture, and a little bit of competition.
What is frybread? It's delicious. Frybread is self-rising flour, milk, water. Very simple. Throughout my life, it's, I love frybread. It was part of my life growing up, and it brings people together. My name is Annette Luethje. I am Cherokee, and I live in the Rocky Mountain community in Stillwell, Oklahoma. I've lived all my life in the Rocky Mountain community. And I do remember growing up, eating Mom's frybread, and it was delicious, I am part of Frybread Factory with my husband, William Luethje, and we've been doing it probably about going on 8 years now.
She's the manager, and I'm the cook. Since we've began, I've seen a lot more interest in Indian tacos and frybread. We really try to do our best to be ambassadors, I'd say, of Native American culture and food, and bring some of our lifestyle to the public, and to let people kind of feel where we're coming from, and where we came from. We really take a lot of pride in that, and for us, the more success we have, of course, it helps to be able to give back to your community.
I told William, I said, well, if you really want to do this, or if we're really going to do this, I said, I don't want to just be selling on the sideline. We're going to go for it all the way. And there's a lot of times where people we serve, like, they've never really even heard of an Indian taco, or maybe they've heard about an Indian taco, but they don't really know what it is. So I kind of think that's neat too, because you can educate them and, let them know that, this is what fry bread is, or this is what an Indian taco is. And we really do try to serve the foods that we grew up on. The busy season usually starts around, the first part of, springtime, summertime. Strawberry Festival, we both love doing that because that's our hometown. And of course, Turkey Holiday, that's always a big one. That's really one of the ones that we really love to do because, of course, it's good business, but also we just like being a part of the holiday festivities. I mean, they even have a contest in Pawhuska for National Indian Taco Championship. For us, there's no pressure really. And you're there with 23 other Indian taco vendors. And you just have to see if you're gonna make, to the finals, which we've always made the finals, knock on wood. In 2017, we did win the championship, and we've come in third place twice.
Third place goes to Frybread Factory.
I feel like the Indian Taco Championship is it's really a good venue for us because it gives us a lot of notoriety and lets you know that you're just pretty good. It's pretty good and people like it. I've known Annette for some years, before, but she reached out and just asked how I was doing, We decided to go to dinner one day and then started just realizing enjoy each other's company a lot, We just was talking and she liked listening to me talk, I guess, because she kept coming back.
We just take pride in, what we do. We try to be as professional as we can about it and try to educate people in the process.
To get to where we're at now, it's been a lot of failures, but then that's also what helps you progress. That's what makes you better. Keep on trying. We never dreamed we'd be selling Indian tacos or fry bread or just getting any recognition from it. And it's really because of her that we're doing this, to make it come to reality for all these years is Annette. She's the big part behind all that. We just really make a good team. I just can't imagine doing it with anybody else or that anybody could be any better.
A lot of people do, they know how to make fry bread. They, make fry bread for their families. Or, when there's a need, they'll make fry bread for a community event, things like that. But I hope it leaves a lasting impression. I just hope it, I hope it continues.
Simeon Gipson is a Cherokee elder pushing the pedal to the metal. As a competitive cyclist in the National Senior Games, Simeon is the picture of health, inspiring countless others to stay healthy and active.
My name is Simeon Gipson. I live in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I've lived there for 20 years or so. I'm a bicyclist. Got into cycling for my health, actually. And it's worked for me. I really like cycling. I'd rather do that than a lot of other things. Never thought of it as exercise, and I hope I never do, because, if it's exercise, who wants to do it? I grew up near a community called Bull Hollow, Delaware County. Quite a bit of my growing up years, I had polio when I was was hard for me to get around. My legs would freeze up sometime and I couldn't move. I went to college in Tahlequah. At the time, it was Northeastern State College. It wasn't a university yet, it was still a college. I went to school there for 2 years right out of high school. One thing I learned about it was I had no business being in college because I had no interest in further education. My oldest brother was in the service, and he was in the Navy. So I decided, well, I'll go Navy. So I went in 1967, I want to say, and I got out in 1971. I was a janitor for a while at the old Hastings Hospital. From there, I transitioned over to the Medical Records Department. I retired from IHS, Indian Health Service, and I retired basically because at that time, my body was giving up on me. I guess it was giving up on me because I didn't take care of it. They said, okay, your blood sugars are so high that you're going to have to start taking insulin. And I can remember to this day sitting in my chair, starting at 10 o'clock at night with a syringe in my hand, getting ready to give myself a shot in the belly. And 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd still be sitting there I could not give myself a shot. I told my wife, I said, I can't do that. I said, I'm gonna have to go the other way. I'm gonna have to diet. I'm gonna have to watch my weight. And I told my son that I've been thinking about taking up cycling. I didn't know if he was listening to me at that time or not. But a couple of weeks later, he came, he said, here's your bike. It was a racing bike. The bike cost around $4,500. Well, time to take cycling serious, I guess.
I did get him his first good quality bike, and but since he started cycling, he changed both physically and mentally. He lost a lot of weight, of course, and I think they improved his health in general.
I got a phone call one day, and had no idea who it was, but a lady had I don't know how she had heard about me. But she knew I'd cycle quite a bit in and around Cherokee Nation in Tahlequah area. She asked me if I was interested in doing a race in Oklahoma City. Well, yeah, sure. I competed. I think I got a silver that year, but got qualified to go to the national games. At the senior games, I usually just do the 20K and the 40K, which is roughly 12 and a half miles and 25 miles. This year, we raced in Fort Lauderdale. My first race, the 20K, I was keeping up with the lead pack, but about 3 to 4 miles into the race, I saw a lady laying face down, and she was she was really in pain. And I just couldn't leave her there on the side of the road in pain, so I just stopped. I stopped and we stayed with her. There was nothing we could do, but everybody needs somebody close by, especially when you're in pain. The second day, I was just as sick as could be. Stomach was upset bad. I had a headache. But I rode, I finished last, which doesn't bother me because there's next year. I have a friend who works with the National Senior Games. His name is Dale Moon. He asked me one day, he said, Simeon, would you be interested in being contacted and have a telephone interview with a lady who writes for a magazine? I said, well, yeah, that'd be good, Dale. And one of the magazines she writes articles for was Men's Health. We talked for 2 hours. She condensed it down into a story, and she put it in Men's Health. Highlight of my career, I guess. Even though it kind of overwhelmed me sometimes, I'm glad I can be somebody other people will look up to. I'm thinking about riding to Pittsburgh for the 2023 games. So it's probably going to be approaching 1,400 miles for me to get up there. That's a ways. I think I'm going to do it. Me and that bike, as long as I can ride that bike and it's in me to still do it, I'll continue doing it. Because, like I said, I don't ride that bike to make anybody better. I don't even ride the bike to make me better. I just ride that bike because I like it.
In this Cherokee Almanac, we explore the history behind the Cherokee Nation Capitol building. After our forced removal and the original building burned, a new one was built in Tahlequah Indian Territory, where it stands today. This building served as the center of our government until Oklahoma statehood in 1907, which deeply affected life in Cherokee Nation. In 1838, Cherokee Nation was forcibly removed from our homelands in the southeastern United States, and that meant leaving our nation's capital, the very place where our leaders met and fought against colonial encroachment.
In the immediate pre-removal period, the capital of the Cherokee Nation shifted from New Echota in present-day Georgia, just over the border into Tennessee, to Red Clay. Leaders made this decision in order to continue conducting governmental business and continuing to meet despite additional pressures to remove.
When Cherokee Nation was forcibly removed to Indian Territory, we had to completely rebuild our government structures and establish a new capital. In 1841, 2 years after the last detachment reached Indian Territory, Tahlequah was designated the new capital city of the Cherokee Nation.
Following resettlement in Indian Territory, most gatherings in Tahlequah were actually held out in the open. Eventually, a council grounds was established with a fenced-in area where several log structures were built, and this is where the National Council and the Supreme Court would meet.
These structures remained in use until the political division of the U.S. Civil War ravaged the Cherokee Nation. Many prominent structures and homes of Union Cherokees were targeted by Cherokee Confederate General Stand Watie.
When it comes to Tahlequah, after John Ross has redeclared loyalty to the Union, any semblance of unity that the Cherokee Nation may have had when everyone was with the Confederacy is gone. And Watie approached this as a kind of scorched earth policy. He comes through town burning and destroying anything he comes across. And when he encounters a group of Penn Indians at the Capitol conducting business, he burns the Capitol building to the ground and then writes his wife a letter about it.
I went to Tahlequah and Park Hill, killed a few Penns in Tahlequah. They had been holding a council. I had the old council house set on fire and burnt down.
On December 6, 1867, the Cherokee National Council passed an act to build a new Capitol building in Tahlequah. This new structure would be the center of Cherokee government and would be a symbol to Cherokee people and the world around us of a modern and prosperous Cherokee Nation.
What the Cherokees are trying to do at these times of stress and pressure on them is to show in brick and mortar that they are a substantial people.
Cherokees wanted to telegraph to the outside world that they were a civilized people. They were acculturated, and they were equals.
I think it was very important to Cherokee Nation to choose a form of architecture that reflected the prosperity and stability that it wanted to work towards.
The new Capitol building was completed in 1869, and this building was the seat of government for the Cherokee Nation and housed many Cherokee Nation government offices.
Not only did the principal chief, the Supreme Court, and the National Council operate out of this building, but it also included offices for positions such as the treasurer, the superintendent of public schools, and the auditor.
This building was the physical representation of the emerging Cherokee force in Indian Territory.
The Capitol building was built to include all three branches of the government, and in a very real way, it served as a literal manifestation of Cherokee Nation's seat of power.
The Cherokee government would continue to prosper in Indian Territory until the U.S. federal government passed the Curtis Act in 1898 and the Five Tribes Act in 1906. These repressive policies would hinder the Cherokee Nation government.
Following the Five Tribes Act in 1906, all tribal assets had to be liquidated or sold off. Shortly thereafter, Cherokee County took possession of the Capitol building and used it as the county courthouse.
Around the same time as the sale of the Capitol building, Indian Territory and Oklahoma Territory were merged to form the state of Oklahoma.
Cherokee Nation regained ownership of the Capitol building in 1979 and used it primarily to house its judicial branch. In 2018, the judicial branch actually moved over to the W.W. Keeler complex after an extensive remodel, and we were able to start interior renovations to the building to turn it into the Cherokee National History Museum.
The Capitol building is back in the hands of Cherokee Nation, and museum visitors can learn about Cherokee history and culture, beginning with our origin stories up to our modern-day nation. This building still stands today as a representation of a strong and steadfast Cherokee Nation.
Osiyo sanas.
Osiyo gasila.
Gadohadene.
Oginali juena suwitagadol. Danesike.
Hawa. Sanas hadla inedo.
Oginali juena sa inedo.
Gado dudoa.
Gehune dudoa.
With the gurney leaf.
Hawa.
Julie Erb-Alvarez is an epidemiologist whose important work in public health has taken her around the globe. Today, she works at the National Institutes of Health, alongside our nation's leading scientific medical minds.
My name's Julie Erb-Alvarez, and I am a member of the Cherokee Nation. I am a captain in the United States Public Health Service, an epidemiologist, and currently the Chief of Patient Engagement and Recruitment for the National Institutes of Health, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute in the Clinical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. I really consider myself from Black Gum, Oklahoma. This land that my parents' house sits on, where we are right now, was my great-grandmother's original Cherokee allotment land. We were living in Tahlequah when I was born. We came back here every other weekend, sometimes every weekend, spent all summers here in Black Gum with my grandparents. I moved straight back here after high school and went to Northeastern State University, where I got my undergraduate degree. And I got a Bachelor's of Science in Health and Human Performance, and I decided epidemiology was where I wanted to go. And so after I got my master's degree, I landed a position with the Cherokee Nation Health Services as a public health educator for their cancer program. And so one day I was sitting in Atlanta at a grantee meeting for the breast and cervical cancer programs. And I was hanging out with my friend Yora DeMay, who was the director of the Republic of Pulau cancer programs. Pulau is a really long ways away. It is a set of over 400 islands in the western central part of the Pacific Ocean. And she said, you know, we really need an epidemiologist in Pulau. We haven't had one in years. And I said, I have a degree in epidemiology. And she said, you should come to Pulau, I'll hire you. And I said, well, okay. And it was my first position as an epidemiologist, and it was jumping in with both feet. Specifically with the Bureau of Public Health. I got to work out of the hospital there, Pulau National Hospital. Just had an incredible experience for 2 years. My husband and I got married while we were over there. We got married in the Bibe. It's a meeting house, traditional meeting house that's behind the hospital. The president of Pulau showed up, President Reminghow, and we got married on Palauan Independence Day, and they put it in the newspaper.
Julie's work was an important part of our public health system. Julie made more than just the contribution of a professional epidemiologist, but really assisted our whole public health system. I can certainly appreciate the commonalities that the Cherokee Nation, and for that matter, indigenous people, with the indigenous and natives of Pulau. It's the same belief that a clan is really an extended family system.
After my 2 years working in Pulau, We moved back at the very end of 2005. The U.S. Public Health Service is one of the 8 uniformed services in the United States, and we're led by the U.S. Surgeon General. We are about 6,000 strong. In 2010, I put the uniform on. It was one of the greatest days of my life. We're not an armed service, but we're uniformed service, and we abide by the same standards, ranks, military courtesies. In 2017, I moved to Bethesda, or actually to Durwood, Maryland, and started working in Bethesda, Maryland at the National Institutes of Health. I support all of the research that happens in the Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute intramural clinical trials. We have some of the world's leading scientists and specialists in mostly rare diseases and conditions. If it's done at the NIH, it's cutting edge research. That's where Dr. Fauci is. That's where the Moderna vaccine was created for COVID. I think it's really important to ensure that we have diversity in our clinical trials. I went to a Christmas party January of 2020, and Dr. Childs, who's now an admiral, my boss, was at this party. He and I had been following very closely, as a lot of public health service officers, what was happening in Wuhan, China, and this new virus that was being reported. February, we got a call from Commission Corps headquarters, and this was the time when the Diamond Princess cruise ship was docked off of the coast of Yokohama, Japan, with a lot of very sick people on board, and they had tested positive for this new virus. We were some of the first people to see the severity of COVID-19. We were able to get a first-hand look at that before anybody else really witnessed it. And it was scary. My day-to-day right now is amazing. I work hand in hand on a daily basis with the world's leading experts in heart, lung, and blood diseases and conditions. I can't imagine a more rewarding career. Oh, I love public health. We work behind the scenes to keep people healthy. Public health really is Gadugi. I think that public health is about the systems that surround us to take care of us. And that's what Gadugi is taking care of each other. And so at the foundation of where we are as Cherokee people, I think public health is at that foundation of togetherness.
We hope you enjoyed our show, and remember you can always watch entire episodes and share your favorite stories online at Osio.tv. There is no Cherokee word for goodbye because we know we'll see you again. We say, Dodadago Ha'i. Wado.